So I do have a crazy story. So one time my companion and I were coming home. It was pretty dark, and there were some sketchy guys. You have to be careful in Nicaragua. I mean, you just have to be careful where you go. Just don't go dark places at night. And if you're smart, you should be fine. But if you're not smart, maybe some sketchy things could happen. But this apartment, we didn't really have a choice because there wasn't a light in the front of our door. So always get a light. You should cut that out if you want. So we went there was a guy that was kind of standing out our apartment, but we didn't, anyway, we went in and we started planning and all of that. But we realized that he was kind of still hanging out in front of our apartment, and we didn't really know what he was doing. So we called our district leader and we called our zone leader because we were kind of scared. So our district leader was sleeping, but eventually we actually ended up calling our ward mission leader, and he's the most amazing man ever. So it actually turned out that they lived a few blocks down. The ward mission leader and his wife came over and scared the guy away. They brought these big sticks of wood, I guess, and we're telling him get away from there. And he left, and we called the police on him, and they looked after him. So basically our ward mission leader saved our lives that night, I can always say. So they're amazing people. That just goes and shows that Nicaraguans are amazing. They will come over to your apartment at 10 whatever at night and come save you from whatever is trying to disturb you. I didn't tell all the details. So there's this, just be forewarned, there's this tradition in Nicaragua that on your birthday, people smash eggs on your head. I don't know who came up with that tradition, and I might be against it. But so 2 weeks before I went home, I turned 21, and my whole zone, we all went on a P-Day and climbed up this big mountain. It was great. Everybody sang me happy birthday. I was all happy. We got in this big line to take a picture. And then right after we take the picture, that was actually a video, everybody in my zone smashes eggs on my head. I don't know, in the moment, I don't know how I felt about that. I can look back on it now, though, and it seems pretty funny. But, yeah, that is a big Nicaragua tradition. And so I walked down that mountain with eggs in my hair, and then I washed it out. But, that's a tradition, so I guess you just have to be a good sport about it. I think when you're learning a new language, it's just, you're going to make language mistakes, and it's fine, and you just accept it. One time in my first area with my trainer, I went into a house, and this guy was, he said all sorts of things, and how I learned was I just repeated people, so I just repeated what he said, and apparently he didn't say something that was appropriate. And so my companion started bursting up laughing. But, it's fine. That just happens when you learn a new language. Everybody goes through those moments, and then later you're fine and you learn it. One time there was a recent convert from a previous pair of missionaries that were in my area. This area was La Borgoña. It was my second area. And sadly, before he got baptized, he had a lot of problems with drinking. And so sadly, at this time, he started drinking again. And we saw him kind of wandering around. And we were like, that's probably not very safe because there were cars going by and he was just wandering around in the middle of the street. And so we were we had appointments, but I was hermana, we need to help him or else something bad is going to happen. We both looked at each other and knew we had to do something. And so we went and got him. And, what initially happened was that he had left his bike somewhere. And his brother went and took the bike away. So he was looking for his bike, and that's why he was wandering around everywhere. So we take him, and we walk on the side of the road and try to help him to go all the way back to his home. And we're just walking with him, and he's just, poor guy, and he was, very drunk at this point. But we help him all the way to his house, and just help him get back to his family. And so the family was just, no, you didn't have to do that. But, I think that's just one of an interesting story from Nicaragua. And we worked with him after to be able to, go talk to the bishop and help him to get back on track. And he really was good after a while, so good for him. But there's a lot of, in Nicaragua, just to be honest with you, there are a lot of, guys in the street that will be drinking or some things. You always just need to be careful about, you're going to be talking to everybody, but you have to be like, okay, is that really what they're saying, or is that, they just were drinking too much? So just be aware of that, and you'll be great. Just a fun fact about Nicaraguans is that, and about the animals in Nicaragua, probably the most common animal that you'll see is pigs. There's just pigs everywhere. It's so funny. One time I saw a pig that was as big as a cow, because they just would keep feeding it, and then I think they would just eat it later, and but there's just pigs everywhere. There are a lot of horses. People would have horses, and a lot of dogs in the street. People have cats, and in the lessons, the most common thing to interrupt your lesson wasn't a baby crying, it was a pig squealing. Honestly. So that's just a fun fact. They also have a lot of chickens and geese and just other little birds, and just you're gonna meet all types of creatures, and it's awesome. I am so glad that I served a mission, and that I especially served in Nicaragua, Nicaragua Managua South. It was the most perfect mission for me personally, and I think anybody who is called there, you are just called there for a reason, because, with any mission, but if you're called to Nicaragua, it just takes a very special person to go there and to love the people and just to experience that. And I'm just so grateful for the experiences I had. There are so many things that I just couldn't have learned any other way. Missions are hard, and there's things that you go through that you never would experience in any other situation. Just the changes, and the companions and the people and the struggles you go through. They're hard, but they're amazing, and they're what you need to be shaped into the person that you need to be. And I think during the mission, you are focusing on everybody else, and when you get back, you kind of tend to look at like, whoa, and you see how that impacts you, and see how all those experiences, however hard they were, how they've benefited you, in the long run. And I think about my mission every single day, and I think about the things I learned, and I think, like, if it took, it makes me never want to go back to how I was before in certain areas, because I see I went through so much to get where I am now. I never want to give that up. And so it always keeps me, helps me keep in perspective, why I'm in this church, why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. And for my mission, I've just gained definitely a stronger testimony of this gospel. And I've just, it's just an experience that's without words. I can't even describe it. So if you're deciding whether or not to go on a mission, it's definitely up to every person, and you have to, ask Heavenly Father for yourself if that's right for you. But definitely I am so 100% glad that I served a mission, and I think it has benefited me in so many ways, and hopefully benefited all the people that I've taught and influenced as well. Something that I think is really good to know is just, how do you get people to church on Sundays? Because, the mission, you teach people every day, and you are teaching a lot of lessons every single day, contacting people. And that's all so that you can get them to church on Sunday so they can really see what it's like and, be on that progression to baptism. So on Sunday mornings, that is it. This is it. This is your time to, help them come to church. So a lot of times what we would do in Nicaragua is we would just go by and just pass by all the houses, all the people that had committed to come to church. We would walk by their house and even walk with them to church, or we would go with them in a little moto to church, or you just walk by and remind them. And I think that was something that was very effective to help them to just be motivated to go to church. And, I don't know how, I don't think in the U.S. you really walk with people to church that often, so that's something that's important to know. I honestly don't feel like there was too many crazy food experiences for me personally, except that one time we did have a soup. So it was like a vegetable soup, but then, you look in it and there was chicken foot or chicken head in it. So I didn't eat that part of it, but that was interesting. And also sometimes if you get the chicharrón, there would be a little bit of pig hair that you would kind of see on it that wasn't all the way fried off. But that honestly wasn't too much, so I wouldn't worry too much about the food.